This webinar is titled Return of the Gods, Ishtar's War Against God. As we've seen in this picture, from 1620 to 1963, for over 340 years, it was understood that Christianity was the solid foundation upon which our nation and its institutions were built. Notably, the Ten Commandments movie was released in 1956, and that movie had been shown for decades around the Easter season, which reinforced what these skyscrapers showed in 1956. Plymouth Plantation, that talks about the original 1620 Plymouth colony, said this: "And the people served the Lord all the days of Joshua, who had seen all the great works of the Lord that he had done for Israel. How amazing are the deeds of the Lord! All who delight in him should ponder them. Everything he does reveals his glory and majesty. His righteousness never fails." Well, the Pilgrims came with this concept from the biblical studies they had done. There was four entities with which God dispensed his authority here on earth: the individual, self-government, self-responsibility; the family for love, care, provision, children, education, to train the next generation; the church for evangelism, discipleship, and accountability; and civil government for the protection and justice. They brought these principles here to the shores of the American continent, and they viewed themselves as just simply stepping stones. They cherished a great hope and inward zeal of laying a good foundation, or at least making some way towards it, for the propagation and advance of the gospel of the kingdom of Christ in the remote parts of the world, even though they should be but stepping stones to others in the performance of so great a work. Well, the Mayflower Compact was signed, and in that compact it said this: "Having undertaken this voyage for the glory of God, the advancement of the Christian faith, the honor of king and country, in the name of God and one another, we covenant and combine ourselves together as a civil body politic for our better ordering and preservation, for the furtherance of the ends aforesaid, and with the power to enact laws, ordinances, and offices for the general benefit of the colony." This civil document became the model of other colonial civic documents and eventually state constitutions, and it's the fountainhead from which the U.S. National Constitution derives its structure. The Mayflower Compact was the first civil covenant. These pilgrims had already done church covenants. They'd already covenanted as a congregation and elected their own leaders in England and Holland. But this Mayflower Compact was a civil covenant, an agreement between the people, the leaders, and God for accountable civil government, accountability, and the rule of law, which has made America the wonder of the world and how it's advanced as a nation in just over 250 years. Well, the Mayflower Compact being the first civil covenant, in this picture that's in the U.S. Capitol, the rainbow is the sign of that covenant, and it appears off to the side in this image of the pilgrims as they were embarking from England to come to the New World. This rainbow was a highlight put in there by the artist, showing God's faithfulness. The fulfilling of the covenant was the Mayflower Compact that I just read, and the persevering in that first winter when over half the pilgrims died. The only reason the pilgrims stayed after the first winter, when half of them died, was the covenant that they had made with God. And so this is why in 1956 the skyscrapers still 340 years later reflected on this covenant of the 1620s. But things have changed. 60 years after that photograph in 1956, our country has surrendered to an ancient pagan goddess, Ishtar. Ishtar was the goddess of sexual depravity, gender chaos and confusion and destruction. Her ancient sign, the rainbow. Ishtar now rules in the United States of America and in Western culture. Ishtar is at war with God and uses the rainbow to mock God. You see, the rainbow was God's covenant to Noah in Genesis 9. The rainbow is a picture of God's glory in Ezekiel 1. The rainbow reflects God's throne as described in Revelation 4, and the rainbow is an angel's headdress in Revelation 10. In other words, the rainbow is God's covenant, glory, throne, and angel adornment. But the goddess Ishtar uses the rainbow as her symbol of destruction. Here are some of the descriptors of this ancient goddess. She's fiery, impetuous, impulsive, greedy, emotional, demanding, stormy, fierce, carnal, given to rage, romantic, vindictive, full of unbridled passion, insatiable sexual desire, boundless pride, seducer, temptress, spells, magic, unbridled sexuality, licentiousness, decadence, debauchery. This is now the rainbow, her symbol that's displayed throughout the land, and it's a direct assault on God's covenant and our remembrance of God. In fact, in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, in Provincetown, where the Mayflower Compact was actually signed as a place of covenant, the place of the Mayflower Compact, now Ishtar is declaring her rulership over Provincetown. At the very place of covenant, now Ishtar reigns with her rainbows and her displays of saying, I own this. I own this country. I own this land. I own this place of covenant. She declares that she is now the ruler of this covenant place. Ishtar, Providence, Massachusetts, where the Mayflower Compact was signed, she displays her rainbow, and it's ever present as she declares her ownership of Provincetown. In Plymouth, Massachusetts, her rainbow is beginning to appear. In Lexington, Massachusetts, displayed by churches around Lexington Green, her rainbow of I own this appears. In Boston, Massachusetts, where freedom was fought for, in New York City, where the U.S. Constitution was put into operation, at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Constitution Center in 2024 on June 1st had a drag queen story hour, which was the biggest ever held. Her rainbow was displayed and saying she owns this land. She is saying that she is here and warring against God and our foundations. At the Liberty Bell during Gay Pride Month in Williamsburg and Washington, D.C., at the White House and the U.S. Capitol, the Pentagon, and embassies across the world, her rainbow flag of destruction and war is displayed. This is not about individual people who are same-sex attracted or gender confused. This is about a movement that seems to be carried along supernaturally in its influence, whose end result is the destruction of biblical Christianity, belief in God and His moral order, God's designed plan for human sexuality, marriage, family, children, and even human identity. There's supernatural forces at work. Individual people may not want this destruction at all, but Ishtar, the animating spirit behind the movement, has a goal of the complete destruction of moral order, the complete destruction of all those who follow her. This should really give us something to think about. Ishtar wars against God. This is Christian Civics Training. Thanks for listening.